Hello, Varuzhan.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for joining me on Mindful Leaders and for welcoming us to your wonderful, fabulous Ardi Wine Estate.
It's my pleasure. Welcome.
Varuzhan, you have a very interesting and alluring story and history. You are a financial and an accounting expert. In the 90s, you and your wife Anahit moved from Armenia to California, where you established an accounting firm. And there, after several years of successfully leading this accounting firm, you have this either spiritual or heartfelt urge to change careers and go into the wine business. So you move here and you establish Ardi. Tell me, it's interesting to know what compelled you or what inspired you to go into wine and why in Armenia and not in California, for instance?
Well, it was quite a change, wasn't it? From accountant all the way to a winemaker. Not that I didn't like my previous profession, being an accountant, CPA, having the CPA designation and dealing with my clients. I was really enjoying it, but I came to the point where I thought that I'm not going to spend the rest of my days in the office environment. I wanted something creative, something productive, and something close to nature. And wine was my passion. And it was decided that I'm going to go to winemaking. And why in Armenia? Because, well, there are several factors, but now I'm going to concentrate. Van Ardi, you know, that means son of Van, in old Armenian, Ardi, Ardini. Van Kingdom, having all this historic, rich history of winemaking during Urartu times and Van Kingdom times 2005 years ago. So it was very interesting to me how that country became an wine exporting country in the antique world. So everything was the same meaning the sun, terroir, everything, all the components is here to make a world-class wines. So really we need to, this was one factor, and the other one that we as individuals from diaspora needed to be co-centric, to do the investments and put part of the national capital, what I called, to invest in Armenia. So we have decided, and I was happy to have my wife on the same page.
To agree with you.
Right. That is one of the big factors, I guess. So everything was thoroughly planned, and we took the first step and the second step, and therefore, yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question about your ancestral land, because you touched upon that. But before I do, there's a question that comes to my mind. You know, making a major career shift or change in life can actually mean that there will be a lot of risks involved. And many people probably do not change their careers or, you know, life patterns because of the fear of the change or fear of the failure that's involved. So tell me, what are the factors that helped you, you know, succeed in making this kind of a change? And I mean, you moved your entire family from all 4 children, your wife, from California back to Armenia. That's a heavy risk. So what helped you succeed?
I agree. I mean, when I look back, I see the risks that might have been, but again, very good planning, maybe my background being an accountant, yeah, it really helped me. And let's say we brought our children every year to Yerevan to spend the summer here, so they'll get adapted to the environment. So that helped, you know, children to really like Hayastan and really feel good here. But again, all it takes good planning, and everything, all the big risks can be mitigated in that way. So I'm happy. I was happy when I left Armenia to USA because I thought that it is a good step for me. I wanted to check my caliber, let's say how far I can go.
Professionally, you mean?
Professionally, obviously, yes. And then I'm very happy that we made the decision to come back to our country. And here we are, all children are here, helping me with the winemaking and so forth.
Very good family business. So coming back to the question of Van Ardi, you did do a lot of research related to Armenia's 6,000-year wine industry, and you mentioned about Urartu and the Van Armenian dynasties and how famous historians actually have linked Van as the region of famous winemaking in the past. I'm curious to know, a bit extending what you mentioned earlier, why is Van so important as an ancestral land for you? What connection do you feel that you have with your history, and not necessarily with winemaking, but your family history as well? What measures did you take to actually connect with that history? Why was it so important to you? Was that probably something that helped you identify that you want to go into wine? Or was this something that happened afterwards in the diaspora?
I would say, no, going into the wine was, again, as winemakers sometimes say, you are bitten by the wine bee and you are gone. I mean,
that happened in California.
Yes, yes. So the profession change was basically made based on to do something productive and creative. However, moving back to Armenia with this and to revive the history, this was very important to me because we as a nation or diaspora are good donors to the world, to the other countries. And moving back to Armenia had different factors. And one of the important ones is that me as an individual didn't want to bear the responsibility of putting my generation in irreversible assimilation. Because we can talk a lot of good things about diaspora. However, there is this built-in module of self-termination attached to it.
You felt that when you were living there?
Obviously, yes. Because I came to this idea or decision, or because I was involved not through my business, which I had about 1,000 clients dealing with various levels of diaspora and various sectors of diaspora. Also, I was member of a Vaspurakan Society and the chairman of Vaspurakan Society, Los Angeles chapter. And I can say, if we define the word diaspora, it is very interesting. We can say that population with Armenian descent living outside of the homeland from the first generation to fourth generation. And why fourth generation? Because I believe that beyond that fourth generation of immigrants, the Armenian individual in diaspora is transforming from part of diaspora to cosmopolitan individual, or French or American. So that is almost a fact for me, and that's why I thought, and my wife was with me, that we really want to live in Armenia. Van Ardi being an anchor for my family. I can give a freedom to my children. They can do whatever they want because they can go and, I don't know, study maybe in Europe, maybe in the United States. That's okay. However, again, as a nation, we need to be concentric, attached with the cords to the homeland, because that's, I think, most important for nation as a big reality, as a one.
I think about when we're talking about Van, we spoke about wine and the history and your connection to Armenia. I can't help but think about your family history, which is connected to the Armenian Genocide, connected also to the former Western Armenia. We touched upon a little bit about how you have origins of Van because your father's parents are from the region of Van. Your grandfather Hovhannes moved from Van to Echmiadzin in Armenia before the genocide, yes, where he witnessed also, most probably, the influx of displaced families escaping and orphans escaping the genocide. But on your mother's side, your maternal grandparents, Sarkis and Marta, who are from Tigranakert and Kharpert, respectively, yes, right, did witness and survive the genocide. And there's one story that's fascinating to me, and that's the story of your mother's father, Sarkis. So I'll briefly just introduce that, and you're more than welcome to actually expand on this. But why this story is interesting is that Sarkis, at the age of 5 or 7, he witnesses the Ottoman Turks burning down his family home. His father and his eldest brother are taken away by the Ottoman Turks. And the assumption is that they've been killed because he recalls, or somebody tells him that, they're taken away, and across the mountain and gunshots are heard. Right.
Gunshots heard.
And so Sarkis's mother pleads with him to escape and to flee. And at that very young age, at night, he leaves, and I don't know how many months or years it takes him, but he reaches Aleppo. He undergoes famine because he finds different ways to try to feed himself. His clothes are stolen by villagers on the way. And so he makes his way to an orphanage. He's an orphan now in Aleppo, never knowing what happened to his mother and to his other brothers, right, to his extended family. And these are all stories that were told to you by your mother, Vartui. Take me a little bit how Sarkis meets Marta, his wife, how they reach Lebanon and find their way to Armenia.
Okay, actually I heard the stories not from my mother, but from the first source, which was Marta, my grandma.
Your grandmother.
Yeah, I was maybe 7, 8, 9 years old. I was actually forcing her to tell those stories. And every time, obviously, she was not willing to make the stories, but
you
couldn't refuse a beloved, grandchild. So it was very interesting. Yes, Martha was from Kharpert. His father, Pilibos Adamyan, was a businessman, as far as I understand, that going back and forth to USA with his brother. And that time he was out of country. So my grandmother, Martha, ended up in the caravan towards deserts with his mother and wife and children of his uncle. And she said that we were walking. All I know that some rider, the horse rider, took my hand and departed, separated from my mother. Everybody was crying, and she doesn't remember anything. Turk Pasha, this was his referral to this person, Turk Pasha took her to their house as a playmate for his children. He was treating her okay, he said. They were, because young, small girl. And one night she overheard an Armenian language, which the servants at that house, Armenian ladies, were planning an escape from Pasha's house. So she said, I didn't sleep whole night. She was waiting when the sounds will come up, when they'll open the gate or door to go out. So she followed them. After a kilometer or two, those ladies found that she's following her.
Secretly.
Marta, yes, secretly. And they got very angry on her because they thought because of her, Pasha will come after them. Anyway, make it short, they got into the mission orphanage, and months passed. She said, suddenly I saw this Turk Pasha talking to the principal of the mission, and this was scariest day of my life, she said.
Because she thought the Pasha would take her back.
Obviously. And principal called her to her office, and she said, look, Pasha came after you. If you want to go to her home because they treated you well, you can go. If you stay here, nobody will take you out. And she said, I just grabbed my principal's legs, and that's it. I didn't saw Pasha anymore. Anyways, she lived and worked at the mission orphanage, and then she ended up meeting my grandfather, Sarkis, yeah. And they got married and moved to Lebanon, and in 46 or 47 made another caravan to Soviet Armenia now. So this was her story. Yeah.
You know, I get shivers when I hear these stories, Varuzhan. I'm just curious to know, you hearing these stories from Marta herself and even from your mother, what did these stories and your memory of the genocide mean for you growing up? What emotions did you feel? And do you feel that these stories have shaped you to be the person you are today?
In fact, I was thinking about that, possibly that we were listening to these stories as a regular stories in our childhood. However, that put a stamp in our subconscious, pretty big stamp. And after one will grow to his more conscious ages and starting to study the history, read the books, read all this information that is possible to get about the genocide, and comparing to what grandmother told me, so all the puzzle pieces are coming together. And then you are thinking about that.
Of course. Afterwards in life.
Right. However, this part of the puzzle is, stamped to your identity, obviously. And then you are having these thoughts. What would happen if not genocide? Where would I born? In
where
what
would I
country?
be? Yeah.
Who will be? So all these things are coming to me. I mean, as an individual and also as a nation. What will be if the genocide will not happen? Did, let's say, severed treaty will work, or we'll have another Armenia? So all these things are coming. So it is our part of the history. The genocide happened to us, happened to my family, obviously. It shaped my identity now, and possibly that was maybe one of the factors that I didn't want my generation to go, as to my understanding, to the second so-called white genocide. Because based on my accounting experience, I know that when we assume that after fourth generation, the Armenian in diaspora departing from the Armenian reality and moving to cosmopolitan area, every 30 years, we are having about 1.5 million Armenians from diaspora going through that
assimilation.
Yeah.
Right.
1.5 million every 30 years.
Which is why you see it as a white genocide that continues even fourth, fifth generation.
Nothing is. So that's why I think it is very important to put the courts. I'll rather have, good homeland. I mean, good where everybody can live and prosper and be happy. Obviously, diaspora, yes, we have what we have. We need to take the good things from that, but without having the strong
nation.
Armenia as a nation and be concentric towards the homeland, it is not possible to survive in this world, I guess.
You know, I would continue about this topic, but I think I'm going to change gears and talk about your father, late father Dergurgen, and your grandfather Hovannes, two individuals who were known to be full of life, very optimistic, very happy and generous with others, caring and fair. Seems like you also have taken on these values of justice, fairness, and honesty, and even optimism. That's the sense that I get from you, the sense of optimism. Why are these values so important to you?
I think every individual, I believe that connection through the generation. Let's say my grandfather and father lived the life that I am benefiting from that. So being honest, being a good man, not doing any bad things to the neighbors or the friends or
whoever.
I mean, they are very respected people, and I am trying to be the same way. So my son and daughters will benefit from the style of the life that I'm leading.
Right.
So I really believe into that connection. And
there's also another value that I always think about when I think about you, Varuzhan, and that's the sense of determination and perseverance. Because when you set something in your heart, in your head, you just go after that particular goal, you know. And so what advice would you give me or to your children or your wife or your friends if they have a particular idea or aspiration or a goal, what to do? Plan?
Just set up the goals, but make sure that the goals are doable.
Reasonable and realistic.
And, realistic. Make the right plan. Planning is again. And go straight towards that goal. When you take the off roads, it might only delay your time reaching your goals. So be straight-minded and do steps towards your goal.
Okay. Now tell me, what legacy, we talked about legacy, but what legacy do you wish to leave to your children?
Well, I think I'm on the right path in that. My legacy, I don't want to pronounce these big words, but my goal is to create one of these wine families in Armenia, when the winemaking, the vineyards, and the winery can be inherited from generation to generation. So in fact, making the winemaking families going for 100 and 200 years. So that's why I'm saying if I'm building this building, this is going to be for at least 150 years for the people who work here. So this is the joke part. But anyway, this is I wanted my children to be free in their lives for choosing their profession, choosing their universities around the world, whatever. However, I want one of them or two of them or all of them
to continue the business.
And not only the business. This is a connection to the country. This is connection to the nice environment.
The land.
The land. Yeah. And to the family culture.
Yeah. I hope that becomes reality, and I'm sure it will, because like I said earlier, I do see a connection of you actually continuing the legacy of the Van dynasties and your ancestors who had started wine. You know, obviously it halted before and after the genocide, but you seem to be doing that wholeheartedly with so much aspiration, so much love. And I feel that even in the wine, the music that we hear. I just wish you nothing but extreme success, Varuzhan. I think you're doing a fantastic job here in Armenia. And I look forward to seeing where your dreams will come and lead in the future. So thank you so much for taking the time to being with me, Varuzhan. I'm very grateful.
Thank you. And I just want to say at the end that nothing extraordinary you can see in my steps. This is regular, usual thing. This should be considered as a regular thing for each and every Armenian to live and create in its homeland.
Amen.
This is not normal.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you,
for.
Varuzhan.
Thank you.
Thank you.